What's up, everybody? My name is Indy, and the gentleman next to me, that's Mr. J. Powell from Powell Group Consulting, and welcome to Indie Game Business. Today, we've got the CEO and co-founder of Kinetix, Yassine Tahi, and we're going to be talking about AI, how AI will affect game development. Ooh, AI. I love me the AI. I love it.
Welcome to the show, Yassine. I told Dan before we got started that I fully prepped for all of this by simply typing "How can AI improve video games?" into ChatGPT. So we are good to go with questions and ideas now. Oh, let's start where we always love starting. Tell us how you got into the industry and walk us through your career up to this point.
So, spoiler alert, I'm not a veteran of the gaming industry. I come from a very different industry. I come from more investment side and startups, tech companies. And my co-founder, Henry, who I met 3 years ago, was coming from the AI and research. But we're both passionate gamers. We've been playing a lot. My side made more RPGs and himself more strategy games. So we wanted to quit the corporate jobs and launch something at the intersection of tech, gaming, and AI. And that's how we started Kinetix.
Nice. All right. So let's go into, real quick. Tell us what Kinetix does. And then, because I've looked at this all week and I just keep going back to those like old school Tinker Toy Lego in the US, they were called Kinetix. And every time I see it, I'm like, oh, we got that. And it's like, no, different one.
No,
so
different one.
Tell us what Kinetix does. Mm-hmm.
So we're providing game developers with the infrastructure for self-expression to bring emotes and dance and gesture and like how we can interact with each other in game, basically. So we have an SDK, it's Unity-based SDK, and this SDK provide multiple things. So it gives the ability for gamers to import their own emotes, and we have a whole AI studio enabling anyone to create move dance that create emotes, which are these moves, and you can bring them directly in the game through our SDK integrations. And also we create collections with celebrities, dancer, artists about specific moves, like you have in Fortnite, for example, and we bring this special content and distribute it across different games and virtual worlds.
So obviously AI has like blown up since November, since ChatGPT, got started, and there's all sorts of, talk, especially with all the tech layoffs. They're like, oh my God, AI is going to replace everybody. Granted, I don't work at some gigantic Google-esque company, but I mean, I started playing around with it, and Dan's much better with it than I am. But I started playing around with it a couple weeks ago, and it's like my first impression, even on like the ChatGPT side, was this isn't about replacing people. This is about how people can do their jobs better. So what have you seen because you've been doing this longer than we have, what have you seen in the last year in terms of advances? And then, we'll get into how it can affect, video games in general.
Yeah. So we've been in AI now for more than 3 years, and a lot of companies that started. So we're talking about text, 2D, and now 3D. So we see like the recent explosion. It's because text and image and video also is reaching a point where the quality is so good that anyone can create and share it. And this is the point where we are, and this is why we're all talking about it. What we saw during the past 3 years, it's more and more companies starting to emerge in specific use cases for 3D. So you have people working on AI to create realistic avatars like Didimo. You have people creating environments like MLXR. People creating synthetic voice like Engin here in France, and they're like Sonantic in the UK. So every specific type of asset is being enhanced, and AI tools are being developed to help anyone to create this type of typology of assets. So what is changing, I guess, is the quality. Because obviously when we started as well with the mono camera, transforming any video into 3D animation, this is like the core technology we developed in the beginning to start Kinetix. The quality that we reach in 3 years is insane. In the beginning, my first animation was like Avatar was shaking it was shaking everywhere. Like it was like so ashamed to post it on social media. But even with that, like I posted it on Facebook group of animators, 3D animators, and everyone was amazed. Like I was receiving hundreds of messages. Like it was like the day I decided, okay, I'm launching this company. I slept, I posted a video, and the day after I had like maybe 300 people adding me, sending me messages like, how can I get that? And it was so shitty. Like the quality was bad, but everyone was excited. Now we are reaching a point where you can do a backflip and we can nail the whole movement of the backflip with a single camera and AI. So we've come a long way. We hired a lot of people as well to help us in this journey. But the quality, and this is my main point, is that multiple companies are working today on different 3D assets generation, but the quality is yet to come in different assets. And then after the quality, there is the integration. So you can create the best asset. If you cannot put it in the game, it's not worth anything in a certain way for creators.
So, I mean, and the art side on AI is where we've heard a lot of the uproar about, artists being replaced and, all of a sudden digital art winning competitions that are supposed to be for, quote unquote, real artists. Are we facing something where artists and modelers are going to get replaced, or is it more of, hey, look, this is how you can do better stuff faster?
I guess it will depend on the economics of the studio. Let's face it, like studios have a P&L and they have to they have costs. So obviously it will, like some jobs I believe will be not automated completely, but there will be some cuts in some typology of jobs because you will need like 10 times less time to do a specific task. But that doesn't mean that the gaming industry is shrinking. At the opposite, these people will be able, like an animator that was only able to do animation before, will be able to do other tasks, enabling people to create their own studio. So I believe there will be more and more small studios with people that can do more things and creating more stuff. So overall, maybe there will be some cuts in the bigger studios, but at the end of the day, it will generate more value than it will cut. Because this is, like, my point is that AI will enable people to do things they couldn't do before. So before you were like doing only the rigging because you were a rigger, now you can do the animation because it's easier for you. So you can create the whole animated avatar by yourself, and you can go further in the creation pipeline. And I see that creating a lot of micro studios, AI powered, that will be able to create amazing new competitive games. And someone from Brazil in a small town with 3 people will be able to create a competitive game with someone like a Ubisoft or a big AAA studio.
And that's obviously what we want to see, because I mean, the reality is not everybody has a budget to go and hire, a full suite of artists and riggers and modelers anyway. So it's these studios that are, 3, 6, 9, 12 people that are going to be able to, go in and create and do more, like you said, make some really, really gorgeous stuff, that they wouldn't have been able to do earlier. And that's what we've looked at on just like the business and the social media stuff. I mean, I literally plugged in our Eventbrite page and said, hey, give me a email that's promoting this event. And the first thing that I was shocked. I mean, I was like, oh my God, that's actually, it ain't perfect, but it's really, really good. So, I mean, the pipeline for small studios could be, we're going to, generate the first passes, second passes of some of these art assets, and then fine tune them and clean them up from there.
Exactly. And this is for the target audience of people that are already creating today, that are already professionals. At Kinetix, this is not our target. Obviously, we're targeting game developers for our SDK, and we're giving them the tool to integrate this in their games. But our core audience will be the gamers themselves. That we want to enable people that in-game are not participating to the creation to bring their own content in the game. And this is very powerful. Like if you look at TikTok, why TikTok is so successful? Because everyone can create a video in a simple click, edit it, and post it. So this is in the 2D field. Imagine tomorrow you're in the game, you can create your own clothes, you can create your own stuff for your avatar, you create your own emotes, and then you can bring them and play with them and use them in the game. And this is our vision, is that our core target is not people that are already doing animation. Our core target is like the billions of people that are not animators today and that can create their own animation and emotes and bring them in the game. And this is that's game changer for us.
All right, so let's ask like the big question that I get asked all the time, and my answer is, well, eventually, but not yet. How far are we from having an AI that can create an actual honest to God game from, front to back?
A game that is fun or just a game? I already saw some AI created like levels. This is already happening, and then the question is how can you create games that are bringing people to use them? Like creating a simple game, I think is something that AI can already do. And then depend how profound the game is, what's unique about this game, and I don't think AI can create a successful game today. I think it can create a basic small game, but I think we will come to a point where it will be able to generate it. But what's interesting is the concept behind the game, because you cannot tell the AI just create me a game. If it creates a game, it will copy like the hundreds of games that are already there. But creating a unique new genre, creating something unique, a new gameplay, or something that will attract users, I think this will always be mastered by like humans, at least for the next few years.
That when someone asked me that was my answer. It was, can they do it? Yes. I mean, an AI can create a game right now. Is it going to be good, commercially viable? No, it's not. I mean, it's like there's the whole section of game development that doesn't follow traditional technology where you're saying, okay, we're going to make, an app for driving, and here's the feature list and here's the product. You have to go in and make it fun. And we don't have AI that can make things fun yet. That's very much a test and iteration phase. So
and then you have the publish, like this is all like product. Like I was like at the conference in Belgrade, like the WN conference in Belgrade 2 days ago, and you see like there are a lot of games trying to find publishers. So it's also okay. Maybe some people are creating amazing game, like Among Us. The game Among Us has been there for a long time before it stand out. So if you have a game and people are not playing it, especially if there's a multiplayer game, it won't be a good game. The game is good also because there are people on it and people are making it live. The communities around it, the people playing it. So there's always a human factor on how to promote the game, how to create engagement and to modify it. And I think this is like only humans can do it for the moment.
All right, but that's you brought up a very, very good point. The part about fun, publishing the game, there are a lot of ways that AI right now can help in that, because a lot of the stuff that developers get hung up on is like creating a marketing kit, creating, a media summary and all of that sort of stuff. You could use AI right now to create that for you, for your team. You could use it to summarize your game and generate emails to set up meetings at conferences. There's a lot of things along the lines of marketing that can absolutely be done right now by AI.
And for the iteration as well, like for example, when we launched a game on Roblox actually to test to have a game about emotes and people can customize their moves, and it was like one of the learnings was if you have a bad logo, people won't click on your game. So we had to generate multiple logos so that people can, and we iterated on like what's the logo that converts more, and like with AI you will be able to generate like hundreds of logos and test them to see like what's the logo that will drive more traffic because it's more attractive. So also even in small marketing details like the logo of the game, like AI can also help.
All right, so what tools would you use to do that? Because that is, I mean, your capsule art, your logo for the App Store, that's stuff that has to be A/B tested a lot. So what is out there? Where can we go to start playing around with that?
I think so. There is like big models like Stable Diffusion. You can ask, create me like a small image or something. And there's also like now scenario.gg. So it's one of my friends, Emmanuel, who launched this company, enabling to customize your content depending on your style. So you can input a lot of inputs of your like branding and style. And they will create a lot of declination and a lot of variety of assets that are looking like this. So basically you can put like a small image with like the branding you want, and they can create a lot of variety. So you can iterate and try things.
That is crazy. I just pulled that up because I was like, what, where is this? And yes, that's it. All right. So you piqued my curiosity with the Roblox thing. What has your experience been on that platform, and how did you implement what you're doing with the AI into a Roblox game?
So as I said, there are two markets. There are the market of creators, the people that are building games, and then there's the market of like users and how people can use AI to bring it in the game. Obviously, our vision is to enable anyone in Roblox, for example, or any other game to create their own content, emotes, and dance, and bring them in Roblox. But for the moment, we cannot do it because to integrate in Roblox, you need a specific route, an API, and we don't have this route yet. So what we decided is to create a game. It was the emote game where you will be able to in-game mix different moves together and play with them. And we created all our emotes that we uploaded, like ourselves as a game creator of this game. We uploaded all these emotes directly that we created previously with AI and fine-tuned manually. And then we uploaded all this content so that users can use them in the game. But our like dream is that we can create a route where people can create themselves their moves and bring them in real time in the game.
All right. So, and this is always the catching point, especially with something like Roblox, where you got a bunch of kids playing. How do you police that so it doesn't turn into a bunch of 3D porn bouncing around on Roblox?
So basically, they're like we've been discussing with the teams of Roblox about this. Like obviously, moderation and security is a big topic. So there are multiple ways for us to prevent that. So obviously, there are some moves that are like we can all agree that they're bad. So this with AI, it's that they're like it's automatically coming to the mind. Like you have 3-4 moves that okay, you don't want them in the game. That's we can block that with AI. It's not very difficult. The problem, and then there's a second layer where when you create a move, you can give it a name, and you can tick or not that it's like a content that you can use or not. So there's a like declarative part, but then there is the contextual move. So if you're doing a push-up, it's not it's okay, it's an okay move. But if you took 2 avatars and you make them a push-up, it can turn into something else. And this is only this is only the game that can control because it's in the game. It's contextual. It's not the content you give. It's how it's used by the users. And it's well known that in Call of Duty, there were like a lot of people using some moves in the game to create other stuff. So yeah, people will always try to use content and change it to overpass the rules, but that's more contextual. This is like only the games can control that. We cannot, like even themselves cannot.
How many different AI variations of teabagging can we get in one shooting game? That's basically
Yeah, we can create variations. Let's say that you can create the one you want.
That's exactly what the industry needs to see.
So if you need to create your own emote, you can just come and create it.
Oh, all right, Joker. I love you, man, but you got to like help us out with these questions. They're taking up half the screen. So, all right, let's go through this. For starting animations and simple movements and enemy NPC AI that are seen in most games, there are plenty of different asset tools to make them quickly without manually doing each part. Would a singular AI eventually be able to handle all of these as a single asset instead of multiple? In other words, can AI soon make the universal aspects of games so that game devs only focus on the unique parts and speed up the demo prototype showcase?
Yeah. So this is a super interesting question because we have it. We have it this demand, and we're working on kind of. So now developers are like game creators will have to. Most of them use Mixamo, so they will take libraries and use this to create the movements, or they will use mocap to put it in their like avatars. We're working on a system that will enable input to animation. So we have the narrative of the NPC, for example. And it will automatically create the gesture and the movements, and it will drive intelligently the movements of the avatar. And also, like we want to create like an SDK for the movement of the avatar himself with basic moves, so that they don't have to download all the libraries, create new ones, and do that. So that will be coming next. But for now, we're focusing more on the short term on the expression of the users themselves. So that's why I'm separating like the two markets: the market of movement for the gameplay, and then the movement for socialization and emotes. But obviously, we're working on both of them. And the other one will see more improvements in the upcoming years. There are some first papers appearing about that, and it will be more and more common in the next few years.
All right, so all of this has exploded so quickly, and like the running joke, especially on LinkedIn and Reddit, is all the people who were Web3 experts are pulling that Homer Simpson meme where he goes into the fence and then he comes back and they're AI experts. Those people aside, aside from the animation and the modeling stuff that you're working on with the voiceovers as well, we've talked about marketing aspects and things that can be used now. What other AI tools are out there, to help this whole process along?
So every single asset that you think is already being developed by a company. So like music, like there's Beethoven AI for music. You have lip sync. NVIDIA just released an amazing SDK for lip sync. You have environment, as I was saying before. You have objects, like there is a new startup called Kaidim that is doing image to 3D objects. So every single asset that you can think of is being automated, but there is no like general AI that is doing everything. Like every company is doing one category because the data set of training are very dependent on the typology of asset that you're targeting. That's why there is no like one single place where you can generate the whole stuff. It's like asset by asset, basically.
Yeah,
this is the stage where we are today.
Dan, tell me about the NVIDIA thing. So now I'm constantly worried that he's going to replace me with a 3D avatar in the near future. So what can people, going to ChatGPT in particular, what types of games and what can be built from scratch just using that one tool? And how is that going to help game developers?
Yeah, so there are multiple things. Like I saw some example of people creating like these books where you can have like quests, and you have like, okay, you need to find this, and it's like in the books, it's a game in the book, basically.
Yeah, like the choose your own adventure type.
Exactly.
That's the first thing I thought of, by the way. Yes.
I saw some people generating some stories like that and playing this game. Like he will say to ChatGPT, like, don't go out from your role and play this, and like it will be like writing the whole scenario, and you'll be like interacting. It's like a dialogue with like quests and stuff like that, only in ChatGPT. So that's the first thing. You can ask to also generate code. You can say, okay, generate me the code of Tetris or like a game, and that you can use and copy paste in Unity or something else. What I think would be interesting also is to see all the NPC quests and dialogues that can be generated with the ChatGPT. Actually, there's a startup called InWorld AI who is working on using AI, and they've been doing it for a few years now, to generate all the dialogues and scenarios of the NPCs in game, basically. And yeah, I see that as well as a help to accelerate the quests development, the stories between the characters, and all the storytelling part.
And I've seen developers for many years, like for the last decade, going back and promising these RPG engines that are going to create truly dynamic quest lines, and it's never worked so far. And that's a way that, yeah, absolutely.
I think we're reaching a point where it will start to work, because like you can have a conversation basically with ChatGPT, and it will remember everything. So you can create specific quests and create like a whole link between the different things that can happen to you in the game. There is a game also called RCT AI, and they're creating like a AA or AAA game where there's AI agents in the game. So basically intelligent NPCs. So you see there are two types of companies: the one that will use the technology to help creators build the game, but also new gameplays that will be developed with AI, where AI will be the gameplay in a certain way.
That's the part that I go back to the whole, who was it? Which was it? Ubisoft or Warner Brothers or whatever had the Lord of the Rings game, and they went and patented the enemy system, which everybody at the time was like, it's a game system, you can't patent it. Are we going to get into situations then where we have these AI tools start infringing and becoming issues on other patented things or generating these themselves? Because I know, at least in the US, that could be a fucking nightmare.
Yeah, it's already the case. Like one of the big worry of big studios right now, and I was talking to some of them like not further than today. They are worried about the infringement because if there's only maybe 1% of what's generated that can be like don't have their IP, so they will be infringing some right without even knowing it. So I think there will be a generation of startup that will be appearing to verify if it's infringing some patent or not. And I think it's interesting. That's why some of them want to develop their own models and their own technologies so that they can master the data set of training. Obviously, there are a lot of lawsuits already happening right now. So yeah, people want to make sure that what they're doing is legal. So it's still like a moving area for the moment.
All right, so we've got several questions here, and they are evolving around one general premise, and we've already seen where artists are probably taking the biggest hit from this right now. And if it's going to start hitting music too, that's going to be another, because there's tons and tons and tons of composers and musical artists in the industry, and they're always competing. So Samazar says, it's already done for 2D artists. Now anyone who can type a few words can produce concept art and illustrations that look better than what most human artists are capable of. There's no way to put this genie back in the bottle. So how can artists and musicians adapt, continue to compete and be relevant when they've got this AI monster lurking over their shoulder?
My answer to that would be like the human genius of every artist is like his special touch, and this I think can be like hopefully will be protected. I hope that people will work hand in hand with some like models to be able to say, okay, I'm gonna sell my style, and then like the artist will be able to monetize their own styles. Like it's like if you want this and you want to use the artist style, you'll be able to pay the artist. Like when you're buying like some typo on internet, like a lot of them are accessible, but if you want a specific one, you will pay to have like this specific one. So for me, it's like sub data sets for training. And if you want to use this style of artist, you will have to pay him, and he will get a royalty on what you're creating, basically. I think Web3 can be an interesting way of splitting revenues and making sure that the ownership is well redistributed. But I think what's the bad thing that happened is that data set of training has been used without the IP consent of some people. So I don't know if we can put the genie back, but there will be some sanction that will be happening in the future, probably. And then going forward, the future styles that will be developed and the future artist special touch, I think this can be monetized so that you can use the specific style of this artist. So artists will be focusing on the essence of their art, and it's how I see it.
Yeah, I mean, it's going to need some sort of digital AI watermark or something along those lines, because that is the problem. Somebody can go in and say, hey, look, I like this artist, but I don't want to hire them to do this stuff, so go ahead and generate however much art come from it. I mean, just off the top of my head, it's like I remember 10-15 years ago all the hidden object games that I was a part of making, and it's like an AI system for that. Oh my god, you could absolutely crush out games like that just simply by generating the art and not having having somebody come through and touch it up and things like that. But it's going to be a very scary scenario for a lot of people in the industry. And like I said, it's like that genie's out. It's a matter of how we can adapt and clear it out. I mean, clean it up and make everybody relevant. All right, so from Sergio, what new game designs will appear by using DL in runtime? Now, I'm not technical enough to know what DL in runtime is.
It's deep learning. I think it's deep learning. So how basically how AI will help creating new form of games, from what I understand, and game like mechanics and stuff like that. So, for example, we have a collaboration with a game called Next Dancer, which is a game that is using our technology. It's not like real runtime right now, but basically you can create your moves and use them in the game to compete against each other in a dance battle. So you create your own moves, your own content, and you bring real life content to a dance battle with and you can battle with celebrities and stuff like that. So there's maybe more interaction between real and digital. I see that, for example, once you have the real time, so you can capture yourself and be a representation like almost real time in a virtual world. You can imagine, like I was imagining this kind of gameplays, and one of them I had in mind is like, imagine you playing an AR game where you can film yourself like battling with someone, and you can have like AR battle, like a Street Fighter, where you are the fighter of the game. So you can take also, you can use your body as a kind of like a joystick in a certain way. We can think about creativity game, UGC game, where you can generate all the assets yourself and craft amazing stuff in the game, like more creative games. And yeah, I won't give all my ideas because I want to build some games at a certain point. So
the ideas aren't worth much at this point in the industry anyway. Like it's all about that execution.
I'm just kidding. I had no more examples, so it was the.
So we've talked about, the art and especially, the emote side, which of course just like turns in more patent and liability questions. If, Epic's getting sued, or at least they were early on, by all these different people, and they're like, you stole my dance. It's like, how in God's name are we going to, police that at this point? But that's an attorney question. And so
yeah, the fun thing about that, like Epic always like Fortnite always won the lawsuits because there is no right on movement. Like it's a gray area. There is no like IP protection of movement. So it's a very gray area. It's like you cannot patent a movement.
Sorry, my entire screen just like buffered out there for a second. So I wasn't staring blankly at anything in particular. I was waiting to see if the feed was going to come back. Yeah. So the here's another good question from Joker. With so many streamer and art communities against the creation of AI art, if they find AI art being used heavily in games, what's going to keep them from being hard boycotted like NFT and blockchain games?
I mean, at a certain point, like for me, it's like the story. Like I don't know if we'll be able to distinguish. Like maybe there will be labels like, oh, this is a human created game, or this has been like crafted by human hands. But yeah, I'm not sure. Like my point of view is that there will be a boycott in the short term. At a certain point, they will collaborate together. As you said, the genie is out of the bottle, so I don't know how we can put it back. The question is, how can we create rules so that everyone can benefit from that, and that the artist can monetize this and take it as an advantage to create with this new technology. But in every step of history, there will be new tools, and people will resist, and at the end of the day, the tools will stay there and evolve. So I don't see how we can come back. I think it's
I would say if we're not already seeing some of these games, especially from the AAA studios, by next year, we're absolutely going to see, games that have been highly influenced.
Yeah.
At least a lot of the baseline work was done by different AI tools. I mean, that's where that first.
But how can you draw the limit? Like some games are like using procedural to generate assets, which has made like the industry gain a lot of time. So you boycott the game that are procedural, you boycott the game like that are only AI. Like how do you choose who to boycott? Then like it's like
that's like the $1 million question in the world anyway. It's like there's been all the backlash against the Harry Potter game, and it's the biggest selling thing on like every platform right now. So there is that Streisand effect thing of the more boycott and announce that you're against something, the bigger it's going to get anyway. But I mean, going back to our talk with Joshua last week, where is that line? You know, what's the, at some point you're either going from creating games that are full of, you know, Unity assets or blueprints in Unreal. Where do you draw that fuzzy little line that says, okay, well, that's okay, but this AI stuff isn't okay? And yeah, that's where,
especially you're not able to even distinguish which is AI, which is not. So it's
yeah. All right. So what do you think, looking forward this year into the first half of next year, what are some of the key elements of especially indie development games that are going to be improved in this? What are some of the things that you think are going to happen in the near future that you can't do right now?
I think there will be more integration in the pipeline. Like for now, it's like tools like generative models that are global are not integrated in the models, in the pipelines of the creators. I think there will be more and more products that will facilitate how you can use this to create something. So there will, like more and more companies are emerging to help you iterate on this thing. Us, we're creating SDK so that you can integrate this directly in the game and let your user do it. So a lot of automated end-to-end solutions to enable you to solve a specific problem and directly integrated in the pipelines of the games and the game creation, basically.
And yes, folks out there, if you have questions, you know, we've covered art and music and dialogue and marketing and things like that. If you've got questions, pop them in the chat. Dan has had to step away for a second, so yeah, don't do it in the in Discord if you can help it, because I've got to police all of these things. Where should folks go? I mean, because there's so many tools out there and everybody's working on something very, very specific, where should people go to, you know, find what some of these tools that can help them along the line? Because I know, especially with these small teams, and everyone's always trying to go, I'm a solo dev and I'm going to do all this game myself. Well, here's something that can actually help you do it.
Yeah.
Is there like a directory or something where...
I think it's a great idea. You know, I was thinking like our vision was to say, okay, maybe there will be a one-stop shop where you can create all these type of assets, and we were thinking of a platform where we will integrate all these tools. But maybe the first thing to start is creating like a Notion page with like all the tools by category of assets. This can be a great initiative. I happen to know a lot of founders in the space, so maybe it's a great idea. It's something to do. Like next week, I will create one and I'll share it with you. Then, like,
no, I mean seriously. I mean, if there are ways,
I think it's a great idea. It's a great idea to spot, and there are some mapping happening right now. So obviously, you can find some mappings. There, like A16Z did the mapping. Sequoia has their mapping. Some influencers are creating the mapping, but there is no like maybe more like a toolbox explaining. Okay, if you want to create 3D assets, this is the thing you need to do. This is like how far you can go in the integration and the pipeline. And yeah, I think this can make sense and can help people to have like one place where you can find everything.
Yeah. People should do 50 hours of research into a niche they're interested in, find all the bumps in the work, and then research procedural or deep learning solutions for them. Just remember the one core part of this: people are lazy. They don't always want to do that. That's why anything that, you know, makes it that much easier is going to be good. So Alexander says, do you think outsourcing studios may become obsolete if they don't start adapting to new AI powered pipelines?
It can. I think it's a big opportunity for outsourcing studios because they're all about optimization and cost efficiency in specific production. So I think they should be the first one using this. And we got calls from many studios actually, like to see how they can integrate that in their pipeline of creation. So yeah, they're. I think it's some of them, the one that won't adapt, they won't be competitive anymore because basically it's a cost structure question. Is that if you don't use AI, your cost of human labor will be too high to compete, and the pricing will go down. So I think they have to adapt.
And we already see that to an extent, and we have for years. And that's why you see so many, especially art studios based in, you know, Central South America, Southeast Asia, because the cost of living is so much harder. I mean, so much lower. You get a lot of these bigger studios and media companies, that's where they always go for assets. And if now they found a way to make it even cheaper, then yes, there is going to have to be some adaptation that goes along, but it's also an opportunity. The first couple studios that can effectively integrate this stuff into creating really, really good pieces,
Yeah.
they're going to be on the forefront of getting new work.
I think that was one of my ideas. Like, if I had like a other company to start, I would start like an AI powered studio where you train a new generation of creators to create faster, new way. And I think the whole mindset for me is like, how can you adapt to new tools and how can you create with the new way of creating? I think it's super interesting, and it can be creating a lot of business opportunities.
So James asked, I'm already using AI art in my in development game. Should I keep the art in the final game?
Your call, James. Like, if you want, depends on what you do. If you like, yeah, it's your call. I'll say.
Is it good?
Yeah, it depends if your art like is like. No, you can show us something, but send us. I'm happy to see.
And so, Joker says the age of the jack of all trades and junior level is the age of jack of all trades and junior level professionals going to die out and be replaced with AI, and the only way to get into the industry would be as a skilled specialist.
Yeah. Yes. Some tasks. I think definitely for the short term, like junior positions should like know how to use and benefit from the AI. Like, even like in our company, like all the juniors, like now I send them like, okay, can you use ChatGPT to see this? And they are using it as a tool for increasing. So we don't post two things, we will post more posts and creating more content. So I think it can be also a productivity tool for them. In the long run, I don't know. Because you can think it the other way. If you're a jack of all trades and you can use a lot of different tools, you'll be able to have multiple positions. So you won't be doing only marketing. You'll be able to handle PR, marketing, and something else. So maybe junior position will expand and do more things because they will have more tools to deal with several stuff.
And that's the way a lot of this is a perception-based stuff, especially the entry level, these junior developers that they're mentioning. You have to learn tools going through school or on your spare time anyway. You need to look at this as not necessarily the R2D2 that's going to replace you. It's more of how can you learn these tools and use these tools to make yourself more needed, more powerful, more whatever it may be to improve your general workflow.
Exactly. And like, fun story, like last week I had like a dinner with my former director of my university. Like, it was like long time I haven't seen him. We catch up to like, so I tell him about stuff, and he was like, okay, like in the university they forbid ChatGPT. And I was like, this is the most stupid thing ever. Like, there should be class about how to use ChatGPT and how we can make most of use it. Like, if the infinite knowledge is available, people should know how to use it and not forbid people how to access it. I think it's so stupid because we're not teaching people how to look at the right way. We're teaching people, okay, you have to learn more things and write it down during an exam, which is, we don't need the same cognitive skills that before. Like 100 years before, we didn't have like calculators in an exam. So someone who is able to calculate very fast will have like an advantage. Now, who cares about that? You can use it your phone to calculate whatever you need. But being able to find the good resource, ask the good question, challenge, see if the source is good, and have a critic mind, it's something we should be pushing people to do. So I think universities and schools will have to adapt to it. And we're talking to also some animation schools here in France, the Gobelin, to see how we can integrate AIs in their training, and like they're trying to use it as a pedagogic tool as well for their students.
Yeah, it's like you said, it's another tool that everybody's got to get used to, and because it isn't, we're not going to be able to just stop it at this point. You learn with it, adapt with it, and do it to make your stuff better. All right, if you've got any other questions, we've got about 10 minutes, 15 more minutes here. So pop them in chat. Dan is back, so you can fire them off into the Discord as well. So from Andrew on the Discord, what other companies and founders do you think are doing good work in this space?
Yeah, so I think on the AI, like one of the good ones is Ready Player Me. I think they did an amazing job at integrating with thousands of games and enabling now to customize your avatar by bringing your image, and it creates your avatar that looks like you. They're working on generative AI to modify your clothes. So I think they did a great job on creating a format and an integration across virtual worlds. And I think they're doing a great job on creating like a standard and creating interoperable assets that you can bring from one game to another, which is very powerful. And so I really respect their work. I really like also like in world. I already talked about it. Scenario, which are like companies I'm following from very close. So this will be the top ones for me. And some others I cannot speak about because they're like still stealth mode, but there are some cool stuff that is coming soon.
All right, so a good point from Cybershell here. The problem isn't the access, is the idea that the competitive nature of game development is only going to increase, and it promotes less humanity in the industry. It makes a risky industry riskier. How do you feel about that? And then I'll chime in after you're done.
I kind of agree with it because there's an infinite number of players. Like there's maybe 2.7 or 3 billion players. They're flooded by more and more games. Like we see that the time of gaming is increasing, but at a certain point, it will be reach a saturation. So there will be like a finite market of playable hours by people, and more people creating content and games. So it will be only the best game that will survive, and it will be more and more risky and difficult to create. I agree with it. Like let's face it, it's a mathematical question for me. Unless we increase the number of humans, or I don't know.
It's one of those things that the way I see it, and I've watched it over the last 25 years, the industry has continued to get bigger and bigger and bigger. You know, engines have done the same thing that we're talking about this doing now. You know, when I got first started in the industry, most people were, you know, creating their own engines from scratch to do stuff. And then, you know, we had Gamebryo come along, Unreal was around, the Doom engine was available. That used to be the big question. Are you using Unreal or are you using the Doom engine? Now the market has pretty much, you know, solidified into 2 game engines plus a few, you know, on the periphery. It's going to be the same thing. You know, there's still going to be too many games out there. There's already too many games out there. Whether there's 1,000 or 6,000 you're competing against isn't going to matter. You know, it's still a matter of making your game as good as it possibly can be, and then promoting it and letting people know about it, because that's going to be, you know, that's going to be the issue right there. So is it going to get riskier? Yes, but I think we're already at a saturation point where that's beyond fixing right now. It wouldn't surprise me if there's already people doing, especially like visual novels in AI, you know, because that seems to be, in my opinion, one of the low-hanging fruits for this. All right, so Joker, are any publishers using AI to find games to seek or reject?
I know that there were some AI to test games and find bugs and debugs, but I think this is a very human factor. For me, like it's one of the human factors, like how fun is the game? Do I enjoy it? And is it something we can predict? I'm not like even sure that like, and it's not because again, like some games are inherently good but won't reach market because of many like things so yeah, I think it's one of the things where maybe you can find things to see the new trends or new games that are appearing, but to find which one gonna work, I think it's very hard.
Joker, as a guy who runs a consulting firm that does a lot of scouting on behalf of publishers, I can tell you that would be very, very difficult. There are AI tools that we have seen and, you know, we have played around with on our side that help, what's the word I'm looking for? Like quantify, you know, some games, but it's not like what you're talking about. Now, the 2 biggest issues that we hear from publishers that reach out to us for support are there's too many games on the market to go through, and it's too hard to get a hold of the developers on some of these games that we want to publish. And the second one is easy enough to solve. And that's, make sure if you're pitching your game to publishers, you make yourself accessible so they know how to get a hold of you and then answer your emails. But on the actual scouting side, it's very difficult, because we could do a whole show on how we do scouting here, but it's something that is very much tuned to specifically that publisher and what they want. So down the line, maybe, but the other reality is, even then, you're only going to be able to scrape stuff from something that's already on Steam. And so the trick to scouting is finding shit before it gets to Steam. And so I think it'll be hard. I mean, there are tools that are out there, but it's not a no-brainer yet. Do you, yeah, so we talked about this very briefly. Do you see an IP issue on generating AI assets in a project?
It
Go
depends.
ahead.
Like, it will depend. Like, there are some like lawsuits going on like big models to see that. It's still a gray area. Big studios are worried about this, so they're like working on internal stuff. But if you use your own data sets of training, I would guess that it's okay. For example, if you have like 10 assets and you train the model like in scenario.gg, you'll be able to have your own asset that you can use because you train them on your own data, basically.
And so, someone on YouTube just brought up a point about using public domain images. And this is an area where you could get in trouble, just the way IP law is structured. It's like, all right, so Wizard of Oz, for example, we did we were working on a hidden object game based on Wizard of Oz many years ago, but it never made it to market. The catch with a lot of this stuff is you're using public domain assets, some part of it. In this case, the Wizard of Oz, the story. All of Frank Baum's books are public domain. But if you start using, images or songs or anything from the old Judy Garland movie, that's where you're going to get in trouble. And so you can go and use some of this public domain stuff, but you're going to have to police it very, very carefully. You can go out there and put a Pinocchio game out right now, but if you have one piece of artwork looks like the Disney picture, you're going to start getting lawsuits. And so, yeah, again, it comes back to moderation and just policing what you're doing. All right, Dan, did you have another one come up? Maybe not AI playing the game, but rather tool. Okay, I was like, where is this coming from? All right, so we're talking about the AI tools in games, not necessarily using it to play it, but tools to check admin related issues like financials and numbers overall and that sort of stuff. Maybe, and you may know more of these than I do. I mean, typically we just have unless you've got AI integrated into Steam Spy or something along those lines.
Yeah, I mean, like now, maybe everyone is aware of that, but ChatGPT, like Microsoft is investing in ChatGPT because they will integrate it in all the Word, Excel, and like PowerPoint suites. So basically, it will be powered by AI. All these tools, like, it's not only in the gaming industry, actually. Like, AI is coming into a lot of industries. Like Notion is integrating. Like, all our bureaucratic tools will be powered by AI. So maybe there are companies working on specific tasks on these ones, but the big question will be distribution, and the one, like the big bureaucratic where we're already like using every day, they will integrate AI themselves. Basically, that's what's happening like currently.
Yeah, I'm getting a bit of AI overload this week. At least 2 of the tools that we use internally here have like popped up. Notion was one of them. Oh, now you're in our AI program. This is how you use AI for blah, blah. And then Teachable, I got something from them as well on, their integrated AI tools. And so at a certain point, it becomes overwhelming. But I mean, this is also something where, 15 years ago, there was no such thing as a data scientist in video games. And I still remember the first time I was at GDC at some mixer or event or whatever, and I asked, the person, I was like, "What do you do?" And they're like, "I'm a data scientist." And I looked at them, I'm like, "You're what?" And
Data what?
that's a job opportunity. If you are starting working with these AI tools initially, AI specialists and people who really know how to use this stuff, those are going to be job opportunities in the near future. All right, so the game developers of big studios need to stack up on Kit Kats and coffee and code the next decade of top quality games that will blow away all the competition. It's there's a whole lot of stuff that goes along with this, and I agree, but you keep in mind, no one is getting this stuff perfect. And it's like, how many times has Black Flag from Ubisoft been, delayed at this point? There's only so much that everybody can do. So what are in the stuff that you all have been working on, and the teams and stuff that you all are working on, what are the biggest concerns that you're seeing from the game industry about AI? Is it the stuff that we've already talked about, or is there anything else out there that's...
No, to be honest, like we have a different approach because we're targeting, as I said in the beginning, the gamers themselves. So the challenges we have is like, how can we integrate these tools in game so that the users can use them? So we're like, it's another challenge. It's like more integration challenge. Like one of the question, like we're talking to a game who has the millions of users right now. The question is like, how much memory does it take if I put this on my game? Is it slowing down the device on mobile? Like the questions are very pragmatic on how can we run this in real time in game and how can people generate? So it's like more technical integration stuff, but multiple games are willing to integrate these technologies to create new stuff, to be different, to differentiate themselves also from other games. So the question is more now for us at the stage where we are, because like we come to a long road. Like we've been there for 3 years now. We have 45 people working for us, like mostly engineers, developer. We have a working product. Now it's like more like, how can we integrate this and how can we make it work in game and have people enjoying this and using this to create without touching affecting the gameplay or affecting how the game is run. That's the biggest challenge for us.
All right, we got time for one more, maybe two if somebody has one, but this is a good one from Sergio. What effect will AI lowering the bar? How can studios that are already making games on the market or that are already on the market use AI to make them stand out? The games that have like just come out or are going to be coming out in the next few weeks, or that are already out there. What can they do to stand out?
I think for me, like if I'm having a startup mindset, and if you look at the game, it's very competitive. Like startups, it's like basically you have to iterate and find your market. So maybe it's an opportunity also to iterate on changing the asset, changing the gameplay, changing things, and AI will help you to do it way faster. So you can reach market maybe if you know how to master it and to iterate quickly. Maybe you'll find market like traction and product fit with like a game fit with the users quicker because you'll be able to iterate quicker. If I use my startup perspective to think about it, this is how I will use it for iterating and creating something that works.
And live ops ongoing DLC, which is 100% important in every game that comes out now. This is a way to better parse the data that you're getting from your players, and then potentially generate new engaging content faster, to keep everything relevant. All right, last one from YouTube. What do you think are the potential drawbacks of using AI for monetization in games?
I think it will reach a point for monetization of, if we talk about in-game assets, one thing would be maybe overcrowded assets that will be like, for me, the UGC will be more and more easy to create. So there will be like thousands of assets and it will be hard to monetize because like everything will be commoditized. So that's why we're thinking of creating 2 classes of assets, the one that are UGC and that everyone can create and bring, and it's free and everyone can enjoy. It's more engaging, it's your content. And then you have premium content that you can monetize because it's specific to an artist or it's like very specific and very unique. So like commoditization will be one aspect that can be a threat for monetization for the UGC.
Awesome. Yassine, thank you so much. Dan, do you want to come in?
I
play
do.
us out?
I do. But one thing about AI is you may like it, you may not like it, but it's happening.
Yeah.
It's happening. And the best thing to do is learn about it. Learn, because things are shifting. Things are gonna shift, and they're gonna shift, and they're gonna shift. So knowing how to use it and how to apply to whatever it is that you're doing is super, super, super important. Because we have no idea what's going to happen. Like I just saw some stuff on LinkedIn where they were using it to AI to vocalize, shoutcast what you're playing in a driving game, right? You're going around the turn, and in the last 5 laps, nobody has passed anybody, and and it's just AI generated stuff. That's just like the tip of the iceberg. It's amazing. So thank you all for watching, and make sure and join the Discord, discord.gg/indiegamebusiness. And thank you so much, Tripwire Presents, for being our amazing sponsor. You can watch us on anchor.fm/indiegamebusiness. And if you want to find out about the Meet to Match, the next Indie Game Business Conference is in the beginning of March. So indiegame.business, check it out, sign up. And what do you got to say about the passes, Jay?
Oh, no. I froze up there. Yeah. If you use friend of IGB when you sign up for the event, you'll get a discount. And if you need to pitch your game to publishers or marketing companies or whoever, and you can't afford a pass, just DM me. I'll set you up with one. I mean, this is why we do it. So
yeah. And the new publisher list just came out.
Yes, it did.
The latest updated publisher list. Indiegame.business.
Yep.
Check it out. Thanks, everybody.
All right. Bye.
Bye.